Our original guest for this conversation has finally joined us, and let me introduce him once more, and that is Joshua Okayo, President of the LSK Student Governing Council. He was late, he was caught up in traffic, but finally he's here. Joshua, thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We appreciate you being here. You know, before we even get deeper into our conversation, I understand you've had a very interesting past 24 hours. If I may say, or less than, is it?
Yeah, could be. No, it's not less than.
It's more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, just to be precise.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know whether I should also speak about my day yesterday or something, my experience yesterday.
Sure. I mean, were you protesting? Were you out on the street?
I was on the street, and at some point we actually, you know, we got into sort of a fight with the police because they wanted to arrest me, and that resulted into just a bit of an injury. Just,
I can see that on you now.
Somewhere here.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah, there was one uniformed officer, and then another one was in civilian. So they came at me, and luckily I had a bit of energy. So we had all that, and then there were journalists around, and we had other people, and they struggled with me until I was able to move. So after that, I was moved to Nation Center, just a bit for some time. But then,
were you also, with Casmel while, among the people who sought shelter?
Yes, that was after Casmel had sought shelter at Nation Center. Now, later on, when Casmel was still in, so I was just, trying to also give people guidance on what to do, whatever, and we were trying to also call them to open up for those who are held at Java Kimathi Street. So there was just a lot. So I think in that mix they thought that I was sort of controlling the crowds, and so they came for me, but they did not get me. So I stayed in there for quite a while because they were just hanging around, throwing tear gas. Actually, Nation Center ground floor and first floor was all cloudy. It was tear gas everywhere. Even the staff were now trying to get a safe space. But afterwards, when we got out, we again tried to lobby for the release of those guys. Ultimately, they were released. But then later on, it was so hard for me to get out of town because there were police whose eyes were on us.
I see.
Yes. So, but we called a cab and got out using a cab. Now, using that cab, they actually followed us. Yes. So at some point I had to change a vehicle, got into another, all right? When I got into that other one, we got out. I don't know how they got that information because we found they were waiting for us. I'm not gonna say which road because, for my safety. But they followed us. I didn't go to my place. I had to go to someone else's place.
Oh, so right now you're not from your...
No, I'm from my place. I got to my place at 5 in the evening today.
Oh.
Just to get ready for this show.
I understand.
So, yeah, so I was not at my place. So I had to go to someone else's place, live there again on foot because now it was really hard to know whether or not they're waiting around. And I got to another friend's place. So I was just up and about. And this time I had to switch off my phone because really I realized probably they're tracking me using my phone number or something. So it's not been easy. It's so hard. But what I failed to mention is that we had doctors who are actually volunteering to treat people here. So when we got a chance to get out, I was taken and they checked. They had to check me and a bit of first aid and all that. I think now I'm good.
Well, we're happy you're safe, and I appreciate once again for you, making time and being able to come here tonight. We don't take it for granted. And before you came in, we were discussing with Wanjiri and of course Kennedy before you about the protests and of course the demonstrations bill that's right now in Parliament, first reading before public participation. But once before all that, we were also showing our audience the clip of journalists who were facing hardships right there while they were covering this particular protest, Nane Nane, yesterday. And we saw also Larry Mado, who was you know, on the ground and reporting, you know, for his network, and he was targeted. You could see that on the, you know, on the video. And we also had, you know, Stephen Latour also accounting, you know, his experience, you know, on the same. And well, it's been, well, social media has been awash, you know, with a lot of those incidences. And one of the things that I want to bring in mind, and I remember, I know you know, I asked, you know, Steve, sorry, yes, our previous guest, is we have the perspective of protests, but they represent something. And Wanjira, you have been there at the grassroots. At 17 years old, you were out there, you know, protesting, seeking for your rights. And when you look at this period of time right now, we need to articulate it, because we don't seem to quite understand. It almost seems like a young person's thing, but then the young person has been able to turn around a whole country, a whole executive, right? So that means a lot, and it has a deeper meaning. And the generation that we are analyzing, that we've put out there, you know, criticizing and also praising, has the characteristics out there, and they do not seem to be new, especially if you look at the characteristic plus the moment. But we need to understand what this moment is, because there's also the unrest, the human unrest, whereby you want to wake up and wish this moment away because it's uncomfortable. And change always is uncomfortable, right? So in your perception, given the amount of time and experience you've had since 17 and now I think 25, if I'm right, or so? Yes, lovely. Yes, yeah. Still lovely, lovely. Right. How can you define it? What is your experience on the same? What is your perception?
I think that this is a revolutionary moment for this country without a shadow of doubt. 35 counties came out unanimously to say Ruto must go, to say no to bad governance, to say no to dictatorship. I think as Kenyan people, we have suffered enough. Speaking for the struggling masses of this country, we feel like we've been stretched enough. We have had enough of police brutality. We've had enough of the lack of food, enough of the basic human rights, really, which is enshrined under Article 43 of the Kenyan Constitution. Yet, on the other hand, every day we see billions of money stolen. Every year, we are losing 700 billion of taxpayers' money that could go into feeding children, that could go into building schools, that could go into building hospitals, that could go into improving the lives of the basic Kenyan person. And this is why these protests, I feel like this generation of people feel very deeply. I feel like this generation of people is informed. At the tap of a button, you get to see how much is our county budget, how much is our MCA budget, how much, what's there, how much money has been lost to corruption, how many people have we lost because there was no medicine in the hospital. I think information, empathy, and courage, there has been a lot of unity and solidarity like never before in this country among the young people. There have been love, really. On the streets of Nairobi, we've been there. We've been experiencing.
People have even found love.
Yeah,
people are getting married.
Yeah, it's been a really beautiful moment of patriotism, and I have to give it back also to the previous generation, especially the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, that taught us to stand and fight for what is ours, to stand and defend our land and dignity, to stand and defend our people. It breaks our heart to walk in the streets of Nairobi and see a woman with her child sleeping outside in the cold, and on this other side of the world, it's people enjoying their billions and stealing. Like Joho, he has 2 billion already, and the president has given him another job to continue earning. And we have young people in this country who are so capable, who are learned, who can do this job, but you choose Joho. So young people are looking at this situation and they're like, but things have got to change. We cannot continue living like this. Also, our parents were cheated. If you remember, the election period of Ruto was, freedom is coming. We're going to make life better. It is going to be bottom up. We're going to bring, really make life bearable for Mama Mboga, for Boda Boda, for the struggling masses of this country. And then you come and turn around and be this person who kills Mama Mboga's children, who come out to say, we reject the finance bill, we reject bad governance, we reject corruption. We're saying we've had enough is enough. And this is why this fight is not yet over until Ruto is out of office. Because we realize, we know without a shadow of doubt, he's tone deaf. He does not listen to the demands of young people. We've been saying since the first day of the protest, one of the demands has been reconstitute the IEBC so that we can be able to recall these MPs who are anti-people. We've not forgotten everybody who voted no. And we understand that the struggle is protracted, but we have a very deep desire to change this nation to work for us. This is our country too, not just for the billionaires of this country. People in Mathare are still sleeping outside. It breaks my heart to wake up every day and see people with tugunia, umeka hapo gunia, unajifunika, unalala kwa sababu Ruto alikubomolea nyumba bila mpango. We are saying the normalization of impunity is coming to an end. And if it takes us young people to do that, then we are going to do that. We are going to stand up for ourselves. We are going to defend ourselves. We are going to make sure we actualize social justice for our people, because it is a reality. How do you lose 700 billion and we still have slums in this country? Why? We don't get it. We don't get how this system of government has been allowed to go on for so long, and our generation is saying we're not going to allow this. If we have to fight until we get it, we will fight, because we are fighting evil, really. We are fighting evil. You cannot be killing children of Kenya like that for saying stop government. You cannot be stealing our money and still not providing anything of substance to us. This is about better lives. This is about social justice. This is about dignity for the people. We don't want, there's no other city that has as many street children as this country. Hakuna, tembea Africa mzima, tembea everywhere. But why in Nairobi, when we have greedy leaders who keep stealing our taxpayers' money? Why?
Right. So, Joshua, I'd like to also give you a particular perspective, right? Mm-hmm. When you look at the characteristics, like I mentioned, of Gen Z, our young people, we have like 5 things. I was talking to some young people, and they're telling me 5 of their biggest concerns, right? Just stay with me, okay? Mm-hmm. So among them is, you know, their parents, because they empathize and they also fear and they also want to, you know, make their parents happy. Yeah. So, and I remember being on the streets, you know, like just highlighting this protest, and some of them were saying, you know, I'm here because my parent sold land, you know, our land, and I'm trying to, I've not been able to get work after graduation for, what, 3 years, you know, so I'm here. And then that's one perspective. And then the second one, they fear pregnancy, poverty, you know, the STI, the STDs, and I think the last one was something in regards, you know, just up there with the rest. Mm-hmm. So when you look at all that, the generation has also been criticized for a lack of focus. But at the same time, this is the same, you know, generation that has been able to do, you know, make the executive make a raft of changes. Mm-hmm. So when you look at all that, you know, the positives and the negatives, how can you articulate this particular moment? Because I feel like we miss it when we try to just have Gen Z, right? Mm-hmm. Because we can praise people, but we may miss what we are talking about, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. It's not just about the protest. It was happening way before. Yeah. If you looked at the corner of the internet, it was on fire on something way before the protest began. But we were afraid, and we were saying, these young people, they're doing mannerless things on the internet. They're doing A, B, C, D. But the same people, you know, who say, I don't have work, I'm on the protests, you know, they've given me a list of life, they've given me a list of hope. And unfortunately, and some of them actually have, you know, died. They said, we are willing to die for the same. Mm-hmm. So when you look at all that perspective, how can you capture this moment?
First, let me say that it's important to separate people's personal lives mm-hmm. from other lives. Because if we were talking about personal values, then someone like William Ruto would not be in office. Because look, we are talking about you know, the Gen Z's characteristics as in their personal lives. They spend a lot of time on internet. They can't. Someone told me that you know, you young people, you can't even wake up early in the morning to go to work, and all kind of words. Really, times have changed, and we must accept that times have changed. If the old people woke up in the morning to go and get other people from their doors to come to the streets, we are past that moment. We are in a moment where if I want to mobilize other people, I don't have to go and pick them up. I can just call them. I can just record a video, post, and some people will be inspired, will be motivated by that, and they'll be like, if this guy is going, why not me? You understand? So probably them spending so much time on the internet, and then there was no internet before. There's internet now. We want to make our parents proud. They have actually invested in us. And the fact that a young person like me cannot get a job, I don't think it's largely on that young person. It could be that this person has actually not sought to, to get opportunities. They are not seeking these opportunities so hard. That's also there. But we have people who are hardly seeking opportunity. They're actually seeking that opportunity so hard, so passionately, but they're not getting it. Why? Because we do not have so many broad-based levels of job opportunities. Well, now they're saying we have a broad-based government, but I wanted to use it in another arm. A few people are getting jobs. Not all that lack jobs are not giving in their best. Some are giving their best, but they're just not getting it because the few opportunities that are there, of course, we must have a few best of the best to get those opportunities. If we talk about getting jobs in the government, if we have people in parastatals 55 years and above still heading most of these over 300 parastatals we have in Kenya, then how do you expect that we shall be creating more opportunities, or we shall be creating, we shall be having vacancies for young people to come and join in? If a young person is not at work, what do you expect them to do? Do you want them to go to, to spend time elsewhere and get drunk, or just watch football the whole day, or do what? If they're on their phones, at least they are keeping happy. Yeah, because for me, sometimes I'm not saying I get idle, but when I get a free time, you get to see what is happening and you laugh. At least it helps to, it keeps you active, it helps to. And now that the young people have actually gotten themselves so, very passionately into what is happening in our country, we need to take charge of everything. It's even interesting that people are now contributing their ideas. And that is when you realize someone whom you've been meeting and probably selling mayai has a degree in political science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
right.
I can go on and on, but what I'll say is that young people are not their actions are not meaningless.
Right.
They actually have known that it is time we take charge of every civic activities happening in our country. It is time we speak up. It is time we be part of the conversation. We don't have to have a job or to be recognized or to be somebody for you to speak. On lifestyle, I'll just say, let the young people be. Really, we are, at the end of the day, we are all human beings.
Every generation has its definition.
Exactly.
Every generation.
Let's have fun, but when it's time for work, let's go to work.
Right. So, Wanjira, you once said in an interview, you said, I'm just paraphrasing, you mentioned that one of the biggest issues when you have, extrajudicial killings is, lack of work for the young people, lack of motivation, and all that coincides into a very negatively formed, basically identity or of a young person, because naturally you do not expect people to do what they do, but it is what it is, right? So in this moment, when you see yourselves in the throngs out there, of course, saying what you're saying, looking for better aspects of life and the same. What would you define this moment? Does it look like what you said in 2020? Were you, early prophesying something, and that was during the pandemic, rather?
Yeah, I just remember that, yeah, it is true that when we lose our fear, they lose their power. And I think this protest, people have really taken up that reality and exercised it. And I feel very proud of all the young people that have come out to fight for their dignity, saying we would rather die fighting for this cause than be shot dead by police. Because it is true. Young people have been criminalized in this country. Criminalization of youths, criminalization of poverty. Even the reason, yesterday's protest, no, the protest before yesterday, Kibera youths were not allowed to come into town. Police literally got into matatus and asked all the youths to go out. So already profiling, and there's also the, anyway, I don't want to go into the narrative of the state, but as young people, we've taken the initiative to fight to live better lives by ourselves. We've realized we are on our own. We've always been on our own, really. These people have been using us with handouts and whatnot and politics and whatnot. Now we've realized the political elite have come together. It is now time for us as young people to stand together and fight together, and fight until we actually realize a new republic. There's nothing that is going, this republic we are in right now, it is going to produce nothing of substance to us. We are very clear on that. Yeah. There's no doubt in our minds about it.
Right, but I'd like to bring to your attention one of the feedback, just as you're answering that, because it's connected to what you're saying. So one of our viewers is saying that the issue here is that the protests have moved away from issue-based politics to other aspects. What's your perspective on that? That is one of our, that's a feedback from one of our viewers.
We are actually on very issue-based, we are the ones on issue-based politics. The issue is about living conditions of the Kenyan people. That is an issue that has been ignored. And I have said before, you cannot separate politics and life. Every aspect of life is political. And this is what the young people are fighting. Can we get jobs? Can we get food? Can we get employment? Can we get healthcare? Can we get education? We have not moved from the objective of the protest. We were not just rejecting the finance bill. And from the very first day of the finance bill, anti-Ruto chants were coming up. I had it for the first time on the protest, because when we were planning the protest, we did not plan, let's oust Ruto. That was not the plan of the protest, of the first day of the protest. It was reject the finance bill 2020, but organically, naturally, from the response, the police were responding to the peaceful protesters. Now people started saying, Ruto must go. And it is a clarion call that has remained, I think we are now 2 months in. We've been consistent because we mean it and we're serious. And it's really dear to us that we birth this new reality that respects us as young people, that accords us our dignity, our human rights. And this moment is so magical for me as a young person from Mathare to see a sea of young people coming out to protest, coming out to say, we demand better, we deserve better. If we have to fight for it, then fight we must. It is a beautiful thing to witness for us as young people. And I think it is very promising future for this country. It is a very promising future for this country because tomorrow is ours.
Okay, right. And as you wind up, Joshua, what would you like to tell our viewer, you know, on the same question that I've asked Wanjira?
Actually, it's not tomorrow that's ours. Today is ours.
Yeah.
Hi. Ruto must.
Ruto must go. Today is ours. The thing is this. The things we've been fighting, actually, they are still manifesting themselves live. Like yesterday, we came to the CBD very peacefully. And the police released a very good statement, very nice statement, that the Gen Zs praised. They said, oh my goodness. They have finally realized that, you know, this right is actually accorded under Article 37. And they're saying that you just be peaceful, the police will be there to give you security. Now, if people, and if you have actually recognized that these people have a right to peacefully assemble, now why then do you deny them access to the CBD? That was the first mistake. They denied people access to the CBD. The guys I mean, guys coming from where is this place? Githurai. They were actually intercepted at Githurai. Guys coming from this other side, they were intercepted at Kabara, the Langata barracks, and people could not get to town. It started from there. What does that tell you? If this is a government that can actually control your movement, what else can it do? All right?
It's been abducting people.
The government has been abducting people, killing people, and even maiming people. We have people who are still nursing their wounds. If they can do that, what can't they do? All right? Now, apart from the many things, because look, our fight has been very issue-based. We are saying we don't want positions, really, because we don't want to go to become president or cabinet secretary. We want tangible change. What we want is we want to see a government that is acting. Really, it is very simple. You have the resources and you have the position. You have the power. You have the state machinery. Why don't you just see that from today we are not going to see corruption? And it's very doable. Right.
So I'll bring you to the point where the CSs were sworn in yesterday, right? And the president mentioned in his speech after the swearing in that now they are required to be team players with Kenyans, right? And any measures that is done, there will be great measures towards them if there'll be not. So we don't have time, actually. We're supposed to wind up right now. My director is telling me the same. But quickly, in literally 2.0 seconds, you know, could you, what are your sentiments on that? Very, very quickly, very quickly.
We have cabinet secretaries that have been appointed to just fulfill political goals. It is not going to help us in any way. Those celebrating that their village mates have been appointed as cabinet secretaries, we are very sorry for you, because these people are not going to give you unga tomorrow to eat in your house with your children. It is for themselves.
Wanjira?
I think Ruto has a world record of lying. Everybody knows the president lies all the time. So this is another lie that we add to the book, and it's been politics of betrayal since 1963, when Kenyatta became president of this country, when Moi took over, when Kibaki took over, when Uhuru took over, and now it's Ruto.
Right. So what are your final thoughts, both of you, as you wind up?
My final thoughts are that the struggle continues until victory. Until Ruto goes home, we are still at it. A luta continua. Social justice must become a reality for the people of Kenya.
That's true. Protest is the language of the unheard. When the cause is just, conquer we must.
Right. I want to appreciate you both for coming in today. Thank you so much. Time has flown by, you know, really? Clearly. But thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming on Friday Live. Joshua, Wanjira, thank you once again.
Thank you for having us.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Friday Live. I have been your host, Remmy Majala. See you again next Friday right here on K24 TV.
Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Ushinde hadi mara 5,000 ya beti yako teke teke. Yes, and it's that simple. Dial *675#